5 darkest medieval legends that still haunt the world. Have ever wondered why some stories refuse to die? We certain whispers from the Middle Ages still chill our bones even today. These are not fairy tales told to children. They are dark legends born in blood, superstition, and fear legends that survive centuries, echoing through haunted castles, fog-drenched villages, and ancient battlefields. The medieval world was a place of faith and fire, where myth and reality blurred. Every shadow held a ghost, every storm a curse, and every unexplained tragedy was woven into a tale that spread from mouth to mouth. These stories weren't simply entertainment, they were warnings, weapons of control, and reflections of a society terrified by the unknown. And yet what makes them unforgettable is not just their horror, but how eerily alive they still feel. Tonight we step back into that world. A world where knights rose from their graves, beasts prowled the forests, and cursed objects brought ruin to those who dared to touch them. Some of these tales may sound impossible, but others are grounded in fragments of truth, twisted by time into something far darker. So, stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear are not just stories of the past. They are echoes that still haunt our world, and perhaps still watch us from the shadows. Legend 1. The cursed gates of Hauska Castle, deep in the forests of the Czech Republic, lies a fortress with a reputation. As dark as the stones it was built from Hauska Castle. Unlike other medieval strongholds, it was not constructed to guard a border or defend a kingdom. No, its walls were raised to cover something far more sinister, a gaping hole in the ground, believed to be the very gateway to hell. Local legends whispered that the pit beneath the castle had no bottom. Men lowered into it by ropes never returned, their screams echoing upward until silence swallowed them. Terrified, villagers refused to go near the site, claiming winged creatures, half beast, half human, emerged from the chasm at night to prey upon the living. In the 13th century, desperate to seal this cursed wound in the earth, a local ruler ordered Hauska Castle built directly over the pit. But before construction began, he tested the legend. A condemned prisoner was offered freedom if he agreed to be lowered into the darkness. As the rope descended, the man screamed in terror. When he was pulled back up, his hair had turned white. His skin wrinkled like an old man's, and his mind shattered beyond repair. He died only days later, muttering of clawed hands and fiery eyes that clawed at him from below. The castle rose, covering the pit, its chapel built directly above the supposed gateway. What whispers persisted, and guards swore. They heard unholy screams echoing through the stone at night. Travelers told of black figures circling the battlements with glowing eyes. To this day, locals say the ground around Hauska feels colder, as though something beneath still hungers. What makes the legend even more unsettling is that no defensive features protect the castle. It was built facing inward, as though its true purpose was not to keep enemies out, but to keep something in. Hauska Castle stands still, its windows staring blankly into the forest, its secrets sealed in stone. Yet the question remains, did the builders succeed in locking hell away, or merely delay what waits beneath? Legend 2. The Black Knight who rises from the grave across medieval Europe. Tales of wandering spirits often filled villagers with dread, but none inspired more terror than the legend of the Black Knight, a fallen warrior who refused to remain in his grave. The story originates from Germany's shadowed Rhineland, where peasants whispered of a cursed knight who had sold his soul to darkness in exchange for victory. The Black Knight was said to be a merciless figure on the battlefield, clad in armor darker than night, his visor never raised. He fought with inhuman strength, cutting down foes as though death itself guided his blade. Yet, with every battle, the ground he stood upon grew tainted, as if soaked not only with blood, but with something far more unholy. When he finally fell in combat, His body was buried in consecrated ground, but the earth did not hold him. Days after his burial, villagers claimed to hear the pounding of hooves at midnight. Horses bolted in terror, and farmers swore they saw a lone rider galloping across the hills, armor glinting, black eyes burning like embers beneath his helm. Those unfortunate enough to cross his path rarely lived to tell the tale. The Black Knight would challenge travelers to a duel. They refused, he'd cut them down without mercy. If they accepted, they claimed his blade struck like fire, leaving wounds that would not heal. The legends say even priests and holy men could not banish him, their prayers swallowed by the wind as his laughter echoed through the night. Over time, entire villages emptied, abandoned in fear of his nightly rides. The land around his supposed grave grew barren, as though cursed by his restless soul. Even today, locals warn against wandering the old roads after sunset. Some say if you listen closely on stormy nights, you can still hear the pounding of hooves, drawing closer and closer. What made this legend especially haunting was the belief that the knight was not entirely gone, that he sought new challengers to feed his eternal hunger for combat. For those who dared to speak of him, the warning was always the same. When you hear the hooves at midnight, do not look back, for the Black Knight rides again. Legend 3. The Weeping Lady of Medieval Castles. In the quiet halls of ruined castles across Europe, there lingers a single sound more chilling than the howl of wind or the creak of ancient doors, the mournful sobs of a woman. She is known simply as the Weeping Lady, a spectral figure bound forever to the stones of the medieval world. Her legend appears in many places: Scotland, France, even Spain, but the story is always the same. A woman betrayed, murdered, or condemned, who wanders the night in eternal sorrow. One of the most infamous tales comes from Château de Brissac in France, where the spirit of Charlotte de Breze, a noble woman strangled by her jealous husband, is said to roam. Visitors describe seeing a pale lady dressed in faded finery, her face twisted in anguish, her eyes hollow yet wet with endless tears. At night her cries echo through the halls, so piercing that guests have fled in terror, unable to endure the grief that clings to every sob. But the Weeping Lady is not always harmless. In Scotland's crumbling castles, whispers tell of men who followed the sound of her voice, only to vanish without a trace. Some say she lures the living into hidden passages where they stumble to their deaths. Others claim her touch is icy enough to stop a man's heart, her embrace more fatal than any blade. The power of the legend lies in its universality. Across medieval Europe, women silenced by injustice or cruelty became more powerful in death than in life, their sorrow transformed into a curse. Whether a murdered bride, a betrayed queen, or a nun who broke her vows, the Weeping Lady became a symbol of grief so strong it refused to fade with time. Even today, visitors to these castles report the same chilling encounter, a soft sob in the distance, footsteps that follow, and the fleeting glimpse of a woman's figure dissolving into the shadows. Some skeptics dismiss it as imagination, but those who've heard the sobs say they carry a weight no story could invent. And so, the Weeping Lady weeps still, her voice rising from stone corridors like a lament that refuses to die, a reminder that sorrow, once born, can haunt forever. Legend 4. The Plague Maiden during the Black Death. When half of Europe lay in ruin, whispers spread of a ghostly figure who walked before the pestilence itself, the Plague Maiden. Cloaked in white or black, her face hidden beneath a veil, she appeared at the edges of villages just days before disease would strike. Some claimed she carried a long, silver rake, and wherever she dragged its teeth across the ground, plague would follow, sparing none who lived upon that soil. The earliest stories came from Eastern Europe, where peasants swore they saw her gliding through the streets at night, her gown untouched by mud or blood. Dogs howled when she passed, and the air grew heavy with the scent of rot, though no corpse yet lay near. She did not speak, but but those who locked eyes with her felt a crushing despair, as if their souls were already condemned. In Lithuania, a tale tells of a farmer who confronted her, demanding she leave his land. She only raised her rake and swept it across his barn. Within days, his family and livestock lay dead, their bodies twisted in agony. Villagers buried him quickly, fearing even his corpse might spread her curse. Yet there were whispers, too, that she could be appeased. Some believed leaving bread, milk, or prayers at crossroads would distract her, turning her gaze away. But others argued nothing could stop her once she had chosen her path, that the maiden was not a ghost, but a living embodiment of death itself, too ancient and too powerful to resist. Even centuries later, as plague returned in waves, sightings of a veiled woman persisted. Chroniclers described her as tall, with hollow eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Whether a real figure or mass hysteria, her image became etched into medieval terror, a warning that death was not blind, but guided. Today, in abandoned villages and plagued cemeteries, locals still avoid walking at night. Some say they have glimpsed her in the mist, dragging her rake across forgotten fields. And while science may explain the plague, the legend endures, reminding us that fear itself can take shape, walking beside humanity like a shadow that never leaves. Legend 5. The phantom army of the dead knights. Among the darkest legends of the Middle Ages is the tale of the phantom army, also known as the Wild Hunt. Across the misty fields and forests of Europe, peasants swore they saw columns of dead knights riding through the night, ghostly warriors bound forever to war. Their armor clattered, though no hand held it. Their horses galloped without leaving hoofprints, and their hollow eyes glowed like embers in the dark. The legend was strongest in Germany and Scandinavia, where travelers warned never to walk alone after sunset. They spoke of a terrifying sound rising from the hills, horns blowing, hooves thundering, and voices crying out as if the battlefield itself had come back to life. Some claimed the army was led by a cursed king, doomed to ride until Judgment Day. Others said it was commanded by a dark god of war, gathering the souls of the restless dead. What made this legend especially terrifying was its omen. Wherever the phantom army passed, disaster soon followed: famine, war, or plague. Villages emptied overnight, with terrified families fleeing after seeing the sky lit with ghostly fire. Chroniclers of the time even recorded mass sightings, with entire towns claiming to have seen spectral battalions march through the clouds. Yet some believed encountering the Wild Hunt was not only a curse, but a twisted blessing. Warriors who heard the army's call were said to be chosen, their souls destined to join the eternal host upon death. To ride forever, neither alive nor dead, came both a fear and a fascination for knights who dreamed of glory beyond the grave. Even today, locals in rural Europe whisper of strange sounds on stormy nights, the echo of horns in the distance, the pounding of hooves in the wind. Etched. Skeptics dismiss it as thunder or imagination, yet the legend remains. For those who have heard it, the warning is always the same: do not look, do not follow, and never answer the call of the dead. The phantom army rides still, restless, unseen, yet always near, a chilling reminder that war, once waged, leaves scars that even death cannot bury. From the cursed gates of Hauska Castle to the restless gallop of the Black Knight, from the sorrowful cries of the weeping lady to the ominous shadow of the plague maiden, and finally the thunderous march of the phantom army, these are not just stories of the past. They are reminders that the Middle Ages were not merely an age of kings, castles, and crusades, but also an age of fear, superstition, and shadows. What makes these legends endure is not only their horror, but their persistence. Centuries later, people still claim to hear the cries, see the figures, and feel the chill of something that refuses to rest. Perhaps they are echoes of trauma carried down through generations. Perhaps they are warnings carved into the memory of humanity. Or perhaps They are proof that some things never truly die.